no white guy in a lab coat's telling me this. So like,
So
it can't be true.
Yeah, science is the new religion.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Which
It really
is
is.
bullshit.
According to science, according to God is what people used to say,
science.
right?
Yeah. 2,000 years ago, it was according to God, and everybody believed it.
Yeah.
Now it's according to science, and everybody believed it. But guess what? Politics corrupted the church and hijacked God and Jesus.
And what do you know?
And what do you know? And probably every other religion. Not probably, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, politicians and the powers that be with evil, corrupt money have hijacked the scientists. So now it's God says you better believe it. Science says you better believe it without question.
Okay.
So you were a heretic if you questioned God, and they either crucified you or burned you at the stake. Now
Reasonable.
you either get sounds reasonable. Now you either get canceled or called crazy or what have you if you defy the mainstream narrative of questioning science. But guess what? Real science is asking questions.
And literally many, not all, but many of the people that are responsible for the greatest positive changes in the world were people who questioned the establishment of mainstream religion, mainstream politics, mainstream science.
Can we name one that
you wouldn't even be able to read the Bible if Martin Luther didn't defy the Catholic Church.
What happened to him? Shot him in the goddamn head, just like everybody else that told us to get along. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence. Like, Jesus was like, love yourself, love your neighbor, we should all get along. And they beat the shit out of him and hung him up.
I don't like this guy.
Martin Luther was like, listen, only one person is not your connection to God. So
you guys can
let's
read
not have
too.
let's not have the rich people reading the Bible to you. Let's share the gospel and have it printed so everyone can read it. And they shot him in the head.
Galileo was like, yo, we're not the center of the universe, bro. And they're like,
He's fucking crazy.
liar.
Liar. All right. Then JFK is like, hey, let's desegregate the schools, break up the Federal Reserve and the world banks, and get us out of the war in Vietnam. And they shot him in the head. His little brother said the same thing. They shot him in the head.
Yikes.
Martin Luther King told us to all get along and judge people by the content of their character instead of their skin color. They shot him in the head.
John Lennon is singing about how we all need to get along. You see the theme here?
They
Sean?
shot him in the head, and Malcolm X was a crazy, violent, black, evil guy until he said, oh, actually, we're all brothers in God's eyes, and then they shot him in the head, actually in the chest, but either way.
A lot of shooting.
A lot of shooting of the people. Oh, by the way, just to let me tell you live on air, the president of Tanzania, did I tell you about this?
You did not.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So the guy takes a person, a goat, a papaya, and he proves that the PCR test for COVID is nonsense because he tested positive for COVID on like a rock on a papaya. And he's like,
really?
The test is nonsense. Masks are nonsense. Here's the studies. We don't have any cases. All this is political bullshit, whatever. 2 weeks ago, Bill Gates tells him to shut the fuck up. Yesterday, they poisoned him.
Holy shit.
So, same.
Well, all I'm hearing is that papayas can give you COVID.
That's what you got out of that, because that's what CNN said. But what I got out of it is we're all the same. We're all connected. We should love ourselves and love each other, and anyone that speaks the truth gets shot in the head. So we're out here taking risks.
Sideways?
I don't think I ever did that. I might have done
gotta
it
be
backwards,
particular.
sideways, maybe.
Like, yeah, but not like...
But now I look like Tony Hawk when he's 50.
so true.
So we'll go straight. Welcome back to the bridge.
Das Bridge.
I'm Sean Nixon.
John Matthew.
How you feeling today, man?
I'm feeling... Oh, one of these days I'm going to beat you to the question, and I'm going to ask you a question.
And I'll be ready, man.
What color are you feeling like right now? Boom,
I'm feeling purple.
You feeling purple?
Yes.
Describe
That's the first thing that came to my head. Because purple is the mixture. And by the way, there is no purple because your eyes can't sense actual purple. So what I meant was indigo. But anyway, indigo sounds a little pretentious.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling purple because I'm not too far red, I'm not too far blue, I'm just balanced.
Ah, interesting.
Plus I'm all opened up.
Interesting.
Yeah, I haven't smoked in like a week too, so now I dream with this like bright white light here.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, dude, I just see the light constantly.
Yeah, I'm only really using it just for meditation now.
Yeah,
really.
me too. And not that it's good or bad.
No, that's
or whatever,
good or
I'm
bad.
just too busy.
But that just like last night I was feeling really good. I'm like no, actually no.
Right, I have the thoughts of like I could go over.
I could, but like
torch it. But why? Why do it when we're fucking high on life? Because I used to do it for mostly the medication of it was stress relief to get to sleep.
Yeah.
But now sleep is like a little nap so I can get back to work.
Yeah. It's power nap.
So we're getting to know thyself.
Know yourself.
Monday, we did a little Western action of like a personality test and a political compass test. And we're not identifying with any of this. We're using them as tools to know yourself because that's what the soul's journey is.
Awareness is the first step of any kind of transformation you're going to seek. So.
Anything. Okay? So now we're going to go to the west. All right? To the east. The far east.
Well, if you go far enough west, you just get to the east. So there you go.
Don't tell the flat earth.
You weren't wrong.
But I'm talking about the far east with some Ayurvedic, Hinduism, medicinal traditions.
Ayurveda.
And some ancient Chinese wisdom and whatnot. So we're going to talk about our Chinese element type.
Interesting.
And our dosha type. All right. So a little Hinduism, a little, not necessarily Hinduism, just Ayurvedic practices.
Ayurveda,
yeah, and Chinese medicine. Okay, so from most yang to most yin and soft, you have the fire type, the wood type, the earth type is in the middle lane, the metal, and the water. Okay. And what we did was took an online quiz. It was like 25 or 50 questions about some different things, and they figured you out, and what they spit out, surprise, surprise, correlated with everything that we already know about ourselves and those other personality tests that we've taken, other experiences, everything's matching up. So we're going to run with it because it matches up. We've yet to see something that's like blatantly wrong or contradictory whatsoever. Yeah. So we're running with it. So, you know, ancient Chinese medicine, I Ching motherfuckers and grandmasters and whatnot could look at you and tell what was going on, but we took a test. And what is this test made up of? Your body type or your somiotype and your structure, right? Your endocrine system, so what hormones your glands are producing, or like what chakras are blocked or overactive or underactive. Endocrine system, if you're not into the real shit. Muscle fiber type, which to keep it simple would be like type 1 fibers, type 2 fibers, whether you're more fast twitch or endurance.
Twitch, right. Or a combination of the two.
And there's always a combination, but what would be your dominance? Same thing. Central nervous system. So are you got a snappy nervous system? Are you lazy? Are you fired up all the time? Are you, what's going on here? And that's going to tell you what kind of foods, what kind of training, what kind of rest, what kind of drugs to use, avoid, herbs, everything. And more importantly, like your mental makeup, because we've seen everyone is same, but different mental makeup.
Yeah, and there's the debate where nature versus nurture, how much of it is
and the answer is always
born
both.
with. Yeah, the answer is always both. Like how much of it you're born with, how much of it is external stimulation or environmental stimulation, rather. Like you said, it's definitely a little bit of both, but it's also hard to deny that there's not some sort of inherent makeup to you. But it's absolutely 100% correct that your environment does influence you, but as long as you become aware of it.
Yeah. So the two things I would say about that is genetics load the gun and epigenetics or lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Yep.
All right. And then secondly, 99% of lifestyle diseases you can fix and control. Only 1% of disease is inherited, and that sucks, and it's not a death sentence always. And that needs medical intervention and help from others and whatnot. But if over 60% of people are obese and over 80% of people are on pills, 99% of you are fucking up.
Yep.
All right? Because you should be taking care of your sleep, your movement, your community, your purpose, your water, your rest, recovery.
Yeah, your
food,
food,
movement, and most importantly, your nutrition.
Yeah, food, environment can change your gene expression.
And
literally changing your DNA and then the DNA of your children too as well.
Legit. That's called epigenetics. Google it if you don't believe me. So we're going to start off with, I am a fire type, or I'm firewood. You're like water earth or earth water.
Earth water.
That's perfect. So I'm firewood in order, and Johnny is earth water in that order. And we're going to explain. So
Surprise, surprise, Sean's fire.
Yeah, goddamn, surprise of the day, right? So the fire is your leader and your power athlete, right? So you're talking about shot putter, sprinter, power lifter, football player. It's the most yang and fiery, obviously, of the Chinese element types of people, okay? So you're talking about confident, excited, angry, and they're going to thrive in 1 to 3 repetitions or 1 to 5 repetitions when lifting
Real
weight
fast
exercise.
twitch.
Heavy, heavy, heavy. Okay. So speaking of training, because this is how we're going to bring it back to fitness. All right. So this is not some fucking woo-woo nonsense or some Chinese hippie bullshit. This is the real deal. So the fire type is the only type that can handle high intensity and high volume. So what does that mean? Going hard and heavy in the gym with lots of sets, lots of reps, and heavy weight, which sounds insane because you won't read that in the textbook, but this is what I'm saying. If you're a coach or a trainer or you're writing something for yourself, figure out what type you are, and it's always a mixture.
Yeah.
So you know you're not doing too much or not enough, because everything is based on recovery, minimum effective dosage, and doing the best for yourself.
And that's not to say that, like, if you have a natural makeup of a fire type, but you're just super into really, really yin stuff,
Do whatever you want.
Go.
Well, you need yin for recovery, but you're
balance.
saying if you want to be a marathon runner,
Yeah, exactly.
you probably shouldn't.
You can be,
but you can be if you want to do
but
whatever you want.
understand that it's not going to be
No, the most efficient path.
for your body type. That's fine.
Good point. And that's all we're trying to be, is efficient here. So high intensity, high volume, heavy weights, often high sets, high reps, low
More
weights.
is more.
More is more for the fire type, okay? And you can really run them into the ground and do all this high frequency, heavy weights as long as you're switching stuff up. Okay, so you're switching up sets and reps, but more importantly, switching up exercise selection and stuff. So if I'm going heavy on
changing
bench
stimulus,
press,
yeah.
I go heavy on incline bench press or dumbbells, and it's still heavy on the nervous system, but my dumb brain is like, oh, we're doing something new, and it's fucking beautiful, all right? So the wood type is next, and they are the pioneer. They like to plan, and they love a good challenge, right? But they're trying to kind of be a little bit more fiery, so they have the tendency to abuse stimulants, all right? So that's your caffeine junkies. Whereas the fire type kind of doesn't need anything to get out of bed on fire.
naturally,
The wood type is a little fiery and tries to be more fiery and overdo it, and guess what? I've been there. So instead of like 1 to 3, 1 to 5 reps, you're looking at like 6 to 10 reps is where they're going to thrive. And once again, like a more medium volume and intensity, like moderate stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. The earth type is the middle lane. All right. So that's where Johnny's living. He'll fucking kick you in the face and then he'll fucking do yoga class with you. All right.
Yeah, earth is definitely like a more balanced type. So like you said, like it's the middle between fire and wood, metal and water. People with that type tend to gravitate towards more middle distance type sports. So like your martial arts, wrestling, middle distance runner, 400, 800 meter runs, stuff like that, which is always where I've kind of been. Like I'm not, like I have some intensity, some fast twitch, but not as much as like a fire type for sure, because I know those types. But I'm also not a pure distance person. Like, you know, I ain't running no marathons.
No.
Hard pass.
No.
But
Right in the middle.
But exactly those exact things where I gravitate towards. So they're going to be more comfortable in like not quite 6 to 10, but like maybe 12 to 15 rep range. And one big thing about them is that they can kind of stick with a single program for an extended period of time and see results with that.
That's the biggest thing. So Johnny will write a plan and take her 3 to 6 months without switching up anything because he likes to see the +5 progress.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, as long as we're banging heavy weights and making progress somewhere,
You'll switch it up like week to week.
Yeah. Oh, every week.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, the earth is the middle lane of serenity, stability. They're grounded. And like you said, doesn't need variation, just needs progress in there.
Yeah.
And if you push the earth type too far, it's going to weaken their immune system. So you get a cold if you travel too much, lift too much, don't take enough rest days, stuff like that.
So that's where the balance comes in.
Balance in all things.
This is where we start to get more from more is more to less is more, right? So,
yeah.
So as we move down,
Especially
right?
if you start to do more.
Yes.
Then you got to do a little
The
less.
more you do, the less you need to
Yes.
do. Yeah. Right.
For real. The metal type, we're not going to talk too much about because not only does it have nothing to do with us, but they're not a great athlete as it is. The few metal types that I've coached and trained, they spend the whole time complaining about this isn't going to work and the structure and the philosophy and this and that, and they're not even like focused on what we're doing. And just the body type and the mental makeup isn't really for them. And then a pure water type is the most yin, and they're going to be your long distance runners.
Yoga.
Yeah, and most important,
High rep range, endurance based, slow twitch fibers.
So So 15 to 30 reps, let's say, and they're better off in yoga class anyway.
So coincidence, you do a lot of volume, powerlifting, intensity stuff. I've done martial arts. I do a lot of yoga. Matches up with our types. We didn't even have to take the test a couple years ago. However many years ago to know that, right?
But that's the best thing. Instead of taking the test
Just
when
observe.
you're young, and then following this path artificially, we've done 3 decades of living, and now we took a test online that happens to match up with tens of thousands of years of ancient.
Happens.
Please. All right. So now let's shift gears because everybody's a mixture, right? Yeah. So the firewood, the earth, water. So as you can see, the bridge from ancient Eastern techniques and ancient wisdom to modern science, right?
And then real quick, science, just please. Like over to your Myers-Briggs or your kind of Western personality type, that also seems to kind of match up as well, right?
Exactly.
Right? Because like fire type, so you were the protagonist, you were an ENFJ, right?
So
more fiery, a little more passionate, more intense. My type was the creative, the mediator. The middle path is the earth. Makes too much sense.
Hopefully that water sound came up on the mic. That was pretty cool.
That's pretty sweet.
I didn't even spill nothing on the brand new desk. I too like to live dangerously. But yeah, that's the thing. Everything's matching up. Once you see the way broadly, you can see it in all things. And it's fucking beautiful. All right? And most importantly, what I was trying to say was balance. You put 4 fire types in a room, I'd rather fucking leave the room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why the yin is a nice balance.
That's why we cover everything across the except metal.
We're the best.
So we got that here.
So then you get into a dosha type, right? Which is very similar to like a somio type in Western as far as mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph, if you've heard of that. And that's more just like head size and body structure and frame. 99% it's frame. Where this goes a little deeper into what type of diet, what you should avoid, like in your inner makeup. Because once again, I think the East knows how to look within, and the West is kind of just judging,
observing by what it looks like. Hence slavery, you Western bastards.
That ain't me. It wasn't me. Tell you what, I wasn't there. But I get blamed for it by my skin color the same way black people get blamed for their skin color.
Makes
and everybody
sense.
gets blamed for their skin color. Yeah. But once we look inside ourselves, we see.
That's what you learn when you're a kid. Judge a book by its cover.
Literally.
The cover.
Literally.
Just throw it out.
And we're here to tell you that's not the best deal. So there's 3 types. The same way there's mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph. There's a pitta, a kapha, and a vata. Okay? I am a mixture of like a pitta kapha, right?
Yeah.
So the pitta is the leader. The kapha is the nurturer. And the vata is the creative type. Okay, so John's like a vata, maybe like a vata kapha.
Vata pitta, probably.
Oh, right,
but predominantly vata.
Right, yeah. Right. Because you ain't got no kapha, as you can see, as we'll see as we go. So the pitta kind of matches up with like the fire type. The kapha matches up with like the earth type essentially, and the vata matches up with like an air or ether, which we didn't get into, but.
So yeah, the difference between like the Ayurvedic system versus the Chinese system, because Ayurveda is more specifically more like a system of healing through nutrition, lifestyle factors. Not that the Chinese isn't, but this particular test we took is very, very different. Whereas Ayurveda is going to focus a lot, like you'll see on digestion, immune system stuff, and categorize it based on that.
Because the way that they in America and the West, they're always, oh, what do I add? What supplements do I take? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Ayurveda is more looking at
what do we need to not do?
What do we need to stop doing and not do? Because it's all disease. Remember we said before is like inflammation. All disease here they say comes from overaccumulation. So overaccumulation of calories, sure, but also stress or heat or whatever it is, alcohol, anything. So it's more of what we need to avoid to get you back to homeostasis and balance and equilibrium and equanimity.
And that's the perfect thing because both Chinese, all Eastern types of philosophy in this way, it's really all about balance. So like you say, I'm a vata, but it's not like, okay, I'm a vata, that's all I need to focus on. It's like, no, I just need to know that that's what I'm predominantly and make sure that is balanced with the pitta and kapha because you have all those within you.
Of course.
It's just about finding that balance.
Right.
Just understanding.
Everybody has type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers.
Exactly.
And type 1A and the whole deal. But balance in all things. So speaking of balance, the pitta type is kind of going to be like thrive the most on a balanced diet. Not that they couldn't go vegetarian, not that they couldn't go keto, whatever. But my whole life I've thrived. People always ask about macros and da-da-da-da. I'm always like 33.
Kind of right in the middle.
Kind of right in the middle. Like I like fats. need some carbs, love protein. Like, so might as well just split them all down the middle.
That works.
1/3 of everything.
Where's your
The
kapha?
kapha type is going to be your larger frame that they're not going to do well with sugars,
Yep.
and they're going to get into some beatus and some obesity and whatnot if they eat too much sugar. But say in the same time, these are the people that can thrive on a low carb diet.
100%.
Which blows my motherfucking mind with these left brain only scientists that are like, keto's the best or keto's garbage. It's how about people are different.
Yeah, it's not one size fits all. The only reason that idea even exists, one size fits all, is because we're all too lazy to look into an individual person.
Let's not.
Like, God forbid that we have to,
care about somebody and look into them a
because
little bit.
that's what any kind of mass judgment is. That's the idea of what racism is it's too much for me.
Lazy.
Too much to process the fact that these are individuals. So I'm trying to categorize them by what they look like, right? Or their religion, or their hair color, or where they came from on a boat. Like
super dumb.
Super dumb.
Open your mind. The mind
But
is like
all those people have Pitta Kapha Vata within them. So I
sure
look at it like that.
Do. Sure do. The mind is like a parachute. It's going to work a lot better when it's open. All right. So they can get it. The kapha is going to get away with some low carb stuff. The vata is the exact opposite. They're probably not going to do well on low carb.
High carbs.
More importantly,
Carbs.
thrives on high carbs. And it's fucking beautiful. All right. So as we were mentioning before, a mesomorph is like your pitta, which is, I don't know if you want to name somebody like The Rock or something like that.
Yeah.
A kapha is going to be your chubby guy, like maybe Kevin James or something.
James.
I'm just throwing out celebrities for namesake, like big round oval head and big frame, and even though he works out a lot, he's still big.
Yeah.
Where The Rock is like cut like a
Side
triangle.
note: Kevin James was a fucking legit ass wrestler.
That's what I mean.
And football player back then.
But still like round,
but naturally puts on the body fat, has a thick frame, bone structure. Like, you're not going to get him like to a crazy V taper because that's just his bones don't work like that.
Nope. Even if he had abs, he'd be blocky and stuff. Like a DC and shit like that.
Like a DC. DC's a perfect example.
And then an ecto. You got a
Bruce
tall,
Lee,
skinny.
man.
There you go.
Bruce
There
Lee.
you go. Perfect.
He's got muscle, but he's not like bulging
No, shredded,
bodybuilder.
but it's small and shredded.
And
It's
all
fucking
three of
beautiful.
those guys are badass as fuck.
It's beautiful. So the mesomorph is the pitta, the endomorph is the kapha, the ectomorph is the vata, essentially. But like I said, we're going deeper with this. So, excuse me. Well, we talked about like diet and training, like what you thrive on. More importantly is what you need to avoid, or maybe let's say cut out if you do have dis-ease, right? Yeah. So the pitta, thank you. The pitta is already all fiery type, right? So they're going to not do well with heat and alcohol and stress. So check this out. People are like, oh, you're white, you're Irish, you must be able to drink a lot. And I can drink a lot, but it sucks because I get a bad hangover.
Don't mean you should.
Doesn't mean I should, and it doesn't work well because I'm already all fired up.
Yeah.
So why should I put, anger gets stored, all emotions, and we'll do another episode, get stored in the body, right? Yeah. So anger gets stored in the liver. So you don't think I'm going to get more angry when I fucking drink? Like, come on, guys. Just because I can handle it, because I can't, I'm going to be the fucking funniest guy. Yeah. I'm going to stay up the latest, and I'm going to drink the most. But for 3 days, I'm going to be depressed and bloated and fucked up and hungover. So it's not worth it.
Because that'll put you out of balance. You already have too much of that.
That's the point.
You can add more onto more. It's going to throw you out.
I can do it because I have the capacity to do it, but it throws me out of balance. All right? Doesn't do too well with the heat, alcohol, or stress, because all that gets you more fiery, which is then, so it's more like what to do means I'm always doing so much. I need to make time for yoga, meditation, stuff like that to bring me back to center, balance, homeostasis, equanimity, equilibrium, whatever words you like. All right? The kapha is the big guy, right? Or the chubby girl that's not going to do well with cold. They're not going to do well overeating because they will gain weight very easily.
Their qualities are like naturally, they're already kind of cool. Naturally.
So you figure low metabolism, you would say, but we're saying cold and hot because fire and ice versus just like, oh, you're screwed, you got thyroid, take a bunch of pills.
Yeah, exactly.
Your thyroid's slow. Like, not really.
Because there's benefits to the kapha type as well in terms of structure, in terms of cellular, joint structure. Those with the kapha type tend to have much better joint structure in terms of like lubrication. So we're talking about like an excess of fats, not in body fat, but an excess of positive fats being utilized in the body.
Fats can be good for you?
Say what? Watch that fat episode again.
Oh my God. Go back and click and save your life. So they're not going to, so the kaphas are not going to do well in the cold, and they're not going to do well overeating. Okay, so then Vata is not going to do too well with caffeine because they get overstimulated. Not that they can't have some, but if they overdo it, it's not going to be like me where I like need to overdo it because I have the capacity. Once again,
we're talking about like over neurological stimulation.
Yeah, you won't do
your
well
ADDs,
with that.
you're tapping your foots, you're shaking your arms, and
you won't do well with more throwing more
eyes are
caffeine on
twitching.
top of that.
Yeah,
we've seen the twitchers. All right, and they're going to thrive on routine and schedule. So an irregular routine will throw them off. If there's travel, if there's fucked up circumstances, it'll mess them up mentally and physically. Same thing with meals. So this is a perfect way to think about it. You ever see people that can like go long periods of time without eating and then eat a ginormous meal?
Yeah.
Well, some people need to eat smaller, more frequent meals. That's why anytime anybody, you hear bodybuilders arguing,
6 meals a day.
1 meal a day, bro. All you need to do is fast all day and eat one ginormous 3,000 calorie meal. And everybody's like, no, fuck you. You got to eat 7 small meals. And it's like, guys, you're arguing. Right. Or you could know thyself a little bit. Have some self-awareness to know that different things work for different people. Because like it's so funny, and I think you'll be able to articulate the balance in this a little bit more when I just say it. But it's like we keep telling everybody's the same, but then we keep showing when you learn yourself, then you see the differences. And the differences are never superficial. It's never skin color or gender.
No.
It's always these
deeper
things: the metabolism, the endocrine system, all these things.
I mean, like on a set, like, are you made of atoms?
I think so.
Me too.
So is this table.
So is this table. So in that essence, we're the same. The awareness that's within us is the same. That's a whole nother episode.
That's like reminds me of like Stan Grof, the physicist. He was like, everything is vibration and just has different density, right? So it's not a table or John Matthew. You're John Matthewing.
Well, that's
vibrating through the universe.
Exactly.
The table is tabling.
Tabling.
Because it's being.
The essence of being a table.
The whole time.
Happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It's not just sitting there.
Well, that's why there's like the elements are tied together. Earth and metal, we're thinking densely, tightly compacted,
Boom.
Right? Water is just loosely compacted, still together, and air is entirely spacious.
Science. And then the energy exchange. So energy and matter cannot be created nor destroyed, right? So heat energy from the sun goes into a rock. The rock heats up because it holds that energy. Heat energy goes into water. Eventually, it will condensate, go up into the clouds, and then when
precipitate.
When pressures change, it precipitates, and now it's back into liquid. And if it gets too cold, it could be a solid.
Sunlight goes into a plant. That plant uses that for energy and stores it. But in terms of like the elements, you know,
chlorophyll.
Like Vata's air and ether, right? So you're talking about throat chakra, third eye chakra. In terms of that whole system, right? So that ties together. I mean, Ayurveda is it's part of the yogic system as well.
Of course.
But they're the creative type. They're the anxious type. They're the kind of can be overstimulated. Like the negatives of this type, if they're imbalanced, is nervousness, anxiety,
big time,
ADD, indigestion, stuff like that. Because the air ether is expansive, right? It can go, and there's a positive to that. That's the creativity, being able to expand to different spaces.
Oh yeah.
But without structure, right? Gas isn't structure. There's no structure to gas whatsoever. So you need to be contained in some sort of vessel of your structure of your life routine. Pitta is fire, which is literally digestion. So you guys your stomach is a tank. We've talked about this tons of times.
Every
time.
Like
me, I have a horrible time digesting stuff, and you're like a fucking iron gut over there, right?
Yep. And it's the same thing. Instead of anxiety, it's depression.
It's depression. Yep. So that's the difference.
And instead of third eye, it's more solar plexus. And fired up and whatnot.
And fire is, we think of I mentioned the densities, right? Gas, liquid, water. I didn't mention fire because fire is the transformation of a solid or a liquid into a different state. So that's the capacity of Pitta, right? And Kapha, super densely compacted, which is why they're prone to lethargy, depression, being underactive, because they're just totally tight, compact together. Think like a rock, right? Or water just kind of flopping around. But in that same sense, hyper-structured, more rigid and routine in that way.
So earth type would be more green, heart chakra, and then Pitta. So you're talking about like the middle three at that point, maybe.
Yeah, so Pitta would be like your third chakra, solar plexus.
Earth would be middle, heart. Because you were just saying.
And a little bit of root, potentially.
Sure. And then Vata would be like third eye. Man.
And they're all, you need them all.
Everything be all connected and shit.
And such.
And such and whatnot.
And whatnot.
And it do. But, because this is the thing. And I don't know if we've said this on the mic before, but it bears repeating. How many colors in the rainbow is there?
7.
7. How many musical notes is there?
7.
Musical notes represent a vibration. So does everything else. Okay, how many chakras are there?
7.
Okay, so is this a coincidence that how many glands in the endocrine system are there?
7.
7. All right. So all this shit lines
How many
up.
continents are there?
Is there 7? Really? There is.
Is there?
Is that a coincidence or that's connected? Because Antarctica, and they kind of split Europe and Asia down the middle. There's a lot of 7s going on,
There's
fellas.
a lot of 7s. Lucky number 7
Sure.
is
well,
a thing. You hit a jackpot, you hit 777. That's a win. 7 days in a week.
That's not a coincidence. The 7 days in a week, for sure. For sure. So you see what I'm saying? It's like, oh, chakras are bullshit. I saw these colors in a gift shop or whatever, but you've heard of Roy G. Biff. And you think it's a coincidence that it goes red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet?
Yeah, if you
It's
just,
not a fucking coincidence.
it's not. If you're just looking at it superficially in the vacuum, like, oh, it's just a circle of an image of a woo.
Just
stuff.
a wheel with some woo-woo wheels.
But if you understand what they were talking, if you read the sutras in a really good translation, Sri Swami Satchidananda has a really good translation, and he's basically like, guys, everybody thinks this is nonsense, but it's literally the same thing. He actually goes. This is a guru, a sage in India, talks about. The links everything up with modern science because he knows that's what people have the block is like no white guy in a lab coat's telling me this, so like it can't be true.
Yeah, science is the new religion.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Which
it really
is bullshit.
According to science,
according
to God is what people used to say,
science.
right?
Yeah. 2,000 years ago, it was according to God and everybody believed it.
Yeah.
Now it's according to science and everybody believed it. But guess what? Politics corrupted the church and hijacked God and Jesus.
And what do you know?
And what do you know? And probably every other religion. Not probably, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, politicians and the powers that be with evil, corrupt money have hijacked the scientists. So now it's God says you better believe it. Science says you better believe it without question.
Okay.
So you were a heretic if you questioned God, and they either crucified you or burned you at the stake. Now
Reasonable.
you either get sounds reasonable. Now you either get canceled or called crazy or what have you if you defy the mainstream narrative of questioning science. But guess what? Real science is asking questions.
And literally many, not all, but many of the people that are responsible for the greatest positive changes in the world were people who questioned the establishment of mainstream religion, mainstream politics, mainstream science.
Can we name one that
you wouldn't even be able to read the Bible if Martin Luther didn't defy the Catholic Church.
What happened to him? Shot him in the goddamn head, just like everybody else that told us to get along. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence. Like, Jesus was like, love yourself, love your neighbor, we should all get along. And they beat the shit out of him and hung him up.
I don't like this guy.
Martin Luther was like, listen, only one person is not your connection to God. So
you guys can
let's
read
not have
too.
let's not have the rich people reading the Bible to you. Let's share the gospel and have it printed so everyone can read it. And they shot him in the head.
Galileo was like, yo, we're not the center of the universe, bro. And they're like,
He's fucking crazy.
liar.
Liar. All right. Then JFK is like, hey, let's desegregate the schools, break up the Federal Reserve and the World Banks, and get us out of the war in Vietnam. And they shot him in the head. His little brother said the same thing. They shot him in the head.
Yikes.
Martin Luther King told us to all get along and judge people by the content of their character instead of their skin color. They shot him in the head.
John Lennon is singing about how we all need to get along. You seen the theme here?
They
Sean?
shot him in the head, and Malcolm X was a crazy, violent, black, evil guy until he said, oh, actually, we're all brothers in God's eyes, and then they shot him in the head, actually in the chest, but either way.
A lot of shooting.
A lot of shooting of the people. Oh, by the way, just to let me tell you live on air, the president of Tanzania, did I tell you about this?
You did not.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So the guy takes a person, a goat, a papaya, and he proves that the PCR test for COVID is nonsense because he tested positive for COVID on like a rock on a papaya. And he's like,
Really?
the test is nonsense. Masks are nonsense. Here's the studies. We don't have any cases. All this is political bullshit, whatever. 2 weeks ago, Bill Gates tells him to shut the fuck up. Yesterday, they poisoned him.
Holy shit.
So, same.
Well, all I'm hearing is that papayas can give you COVID.
That's what you got out of that, because that's what CNN said. But what I got out of it is we're all the same. We're all connected. We should love ourselves and love each other, and anyone that speaks the truth gets shot in the head. So we're out here taking risks.
Like George W. Bush dodging shoes.
For the greater good and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, so you don't believe any of that hippie nonsense, right? But you've heard of the endocrine system where the glands are? You think it's a coincidence that the first shot that, like, you know, you got either testes or ovaries, you got a pancreas, you got adrenal glands, you got a thymus behind the heart, which the heart is enough on its own. You got a thyroid in your throat. You have a pineal gland in the hippocampus in the back of your head, and a pituitary gland in the center of your head that secrete hormones that make you feel things.
Yeah, if you want to believe that all this Eastern stuff is like, oh, they were just basically saying like magic, like Harry Potter wizards. Like, no, they were just using a different way of representing. It's a different map than the one we use. That's all it is.
It's all it is. I say seven endocrine glands and 7 chakras is the same goddamn thing. That being said, magic is a little bit more real than some people would think, but that's a whole separate
I'm not talking about Disney magic, but, you know.
No, but that's the thing. There's plenty of magic out there.
There's
plenty of spells, right? So you can cast spells with your words.
Spelling.
That's why it's called spelling. Because your words are magic. Because you create your own reality with what you think.
We're not even allowed to say some of them when we're kids because they're magically, powerfully evil, right?
Or cursed words.
Cursed.
Those words are cursed. Don't say them. Which is like why they used to burn witches and shit. And like the word witch is like a pejorative term and shit. But if you really think about it, those are just the magic ladies that could fucking see shit and had magic potions and would fucking kundalini fuck your brains out and whatnot and make a pot of herbs and heal people. And they were like, oh yeah, that's not going to be good for us being rich.
Yeah.
So we're going to burn them and tell everybody witches are bad. And then make all movies where the witch is like the evil old lady and shit. All there was the medicine woman.
Yeah. But
trying to heal and help everybody's not good for the big pharmaceuticals making trillions on y'all staying
everybody's
sick.
Healthy. How am I gonna
pop pills and make billions and fucking have yachts and whatnot? So anyway, this ever goes viral, this is our like hostage video of keep spreading the good word.
Yeah, find your type. Take a dosha test. Look into it. Ayurveda is. So once you learn your type too, the great thing about Ayurveda is that it's just like a natural, holistic way of healing. Not using like, I'm not doing like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's really just eating different herbs,
avoiding certain things,
living a lifestyle that suits your type or the way your nervous system, structure, muscle fiber type,
even down
works.
To sleep and whatnot.
Exactly.
Some people are long, heavy sleepers.
And would you say so? You know, we talked about the different types, but like, when you don't do the Pitta Kapha stuff and you do the Pitta Kapha stuff, you notice a massive difference, right?
Massive.
We talked about like if I don't have structure, my whole shit goes to shit. But when I do, that allows me to be even more creative, which is my natural inherent ability. So
boom, boom, boom. And it's the same thing, like I said, for recovery. I know that I don't need to get so out of balance with fire stuff that I need feminine energy. I need yin stuff, and that's just what naturally has surrounded me. Like, it's not a coincidence that most of my friends, most of my clients are females as far as like balancing energy through friendship and people that you're around. Like, come on, guys. We need each other.
Yes.
We need each other. We balance each other. We are infinite light energy beings inside a mammalian chimp body. And you're magical. And if you believe in yourself, you can do anything.
Balance yourself. Bring balance to the world.
And I think that's the thing. Balance yourself, bring balance to the world. Should we tell the Rainmaker story that Carl Jung always used to tell? Because I think that's a good story because you just sparked it.
Go
and
for
then
it.
We'll end with that. Because you said bring balance to yourself and bring balance to the world. So paraphrasing, there was a tribe that was going through a very long drought. And there was a bunch of like Western researchers there. And they're like, oh yeah, it hasn't rained in X amount of days. And they're taking their data.
Weather balloons and whatnot.
Yeah. And so it hasn't rained in a long time, and the chief goes, all right, we're going to have to call in the Rainmaker. And they're like, what? This is fucking ridiculous. So Rainmaker comes, sits in the tent, starts meditating. A couple hours later, it starts raining. And the Western scientists freak out. How the fuck did you do that? It hasn't rained in months. It hasn't rained in a year. You go in there, and it just starts raining. What the hell? What the hell happened? He goes, what did you do? He goes, I didn't do anything. He goes, I came here, and the land was out of order. So I went in there, and I meditated, and I got myself in order. Because you can't change the outside stuff, you can change the inside stuff. And when I got my stuff in order, the land became in order and it began to rain. You're welcome. Get your shit in order, take personal responsibility for your health, love yourself, love your neighbor, and do the right thing.
Make some rain.
Peace. Make it rain on them.